To get an academic job in Australia, you have to do a lot more than a PhD.
Old head. Right? Clinical.
I am Dr. Naj Sumro, and today I'm going to be talking about how to get an academic job or make an academic career in an Australian university. If you're a medical doctor, if you have any other health profession, and you don't really want to work clinically, a very good job opportunity, job option, or a career is to find a university job in Australia. It can either be in teaching or research or university administration. And that's a really nice career, very good job. They pay really well, and that is something I've done. So a bit more about myself. I've done a PhD in Australia in the area of sports medicine and exercise and sports science. And then I went on to work for the University of Sydney. I've worked for them for about 5 years. And I've also worked for Monash University in Australia for about a year. So I've worked in two of the top universities in Australia, and I got a job when I was on a student visa. I didn't have any PR, but I was able to successfully do it. So in this video, I'm going to break it down for you on how to be successful in getting a job in the academic sector or universities in Australia. Alright, so let me tell you a little bit more about my journey, and then it'll make a little bit more easier for you to understand how to get into the system. So I came to Australia initially with an ambition to do a PhD. So I wasn't really interested initially in clinical hospital work. I am originally from Pakistan, where I worked in hospitals, and I didn't really like it too much over there. So I wanted a bit of a change in scenery, change in environment. So I ended up in Australia. Initially, I did a Masters of Public Health, which sort of was a stepping stone to do a PhD. If you want to learn more about how to get into a PhD, please watch another video on my channel, which talks more about how one can get a PhD and what are the steps towards it. And also make sure, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. That really helps. And this is a video I'm actually making after some feedback from some of my viewers who requested that I should also do an extensive video on an academic career in Australia. Alright, so I started doing my PhD from the University of Sydney. The department was exercise and sports science, and my PhD was focused on cricket injury epidemiology. Obviously, it sort of was a really nice topic, and I really enjoyed it. I've sort of answered this in a previous video as well, but generally it takes about 4 years to do a PhD. It can average between 3.5 to 6 years depending on what sort of project you're doing. Now, the most important thing that I tell everyone: to get a job in Australia, a PhD is not enough. So you can do it at the best PhD in Australia but not end up having a job. Or you can do a pretty alright medium sort of a PhD, just pass it, and not with very high flying colors, but still end up getting a job in Australia. And this is something I learned in my journey along the way. And one of my course supervisors was very helpful, and he told me, Naj, if you want to be an academic in Australia, you have to do more than the PhD. And the reason for that is very simple. Australian universities are about innovation, they are about interactivity, they are about communication, they are about expanding the horizons and getting things done. And they really like those sort of characters who are not just bookworms, but they can interact with the students, they can develop new things, they have ideas, and they are able to get a lot more things done for the universities, and also be very active in the community and develop really good social skills. So that is something I've worked on during the PhD, although that sort of costed me a little bit of time, and my time sort of increased, and I finished off my PhD in about 5 years, but that helped me end up getting a job straight away pretty much. So here are a few tips. Once you get into the PhD, make sure you start applying for tutoring positions. So most subjects in Australia would have main lecturer, but then they will have tutors. And tutors are like junior lecturers / like tutors is a different category over here. They are the lowest bit of the academic sector, but there are plenty of positions for tutorship. So it's not essential that you do a tutoring in your own PhD field. If you've done an undergraduate in another field, or you sort of know a bit about another field, you can do it. Now, I'll give you my example. Although I did medicine and my PhD was in sports medicine, I was actually my first tutoring job was in chemistry. I was teaching undergraduate first year chemistry students, doing some simple experiments, uh, organic and inorganic chemistry. And that's something I did in high school pretty much. But I just went through, revised a few things, read a few blogs, spoke to a couple of friends, and yeah, I was able to teach them. I did that about a year, and that sort of got myself a bit of a foot in the door. And then I was given a 2-year contract, 1 day a week of doing tutoring slash teaching within my own department. But it was based on the experience I had with another department. So they really like experience. So try to get yourself a foot in the door in teaching. Now let me break this down for you. To understand where you have the highest chances of getting a job in Australia, you have to first understand the hierarchy and the system in Australia. So the academic structure in Australia works in levels, and there are mainly 5 levels. Level A, which is the junior most level, which are tutors, junior lecturers. Level B are lecturers. Level C are senior lecturers. Level D are associate professors, and level E are full professors. So those are the pretty much 5 structures you would get to. Your chance of getting in the system is pretty much at level A and level B. Level C, forget about that. Don't even apply for that. So if you've done a fresh PhD, you're looking at level A and level B. And within those levels as well, there are 2 different categories of jobs. So one is a teaching focused position, and other one is a research focused position. The teaching focused positions are easier to get because not many people want to do teaching focused positions, and therefore you can get your foot in the door through a teaching focused position, and which is what I did, and then jump your way up to a research focused position, which gives you a lot more flexibility and a little bit of a less headache. And also career traction is really good if you have a research focused position, but aim for teaching focused positions because they are a little bit easier to get. Now, how do you get a position in an Australian university? The academic conversion or success rate for a PhD student to end up getting a full-time academic job is only about 13%. So if there are 100 students that finish a PhD, only 13 of them will end up making into the academic sector. So it's quite tough, stiff competition. You know what I mean? Like, you are competing against local Australian students who are finishing off their PhD. You're competing against people who've got like 10 years of experience in, let's say, Canada or South Africa or Europe, and they're trying to come in and apply for a job. And here you are, a young international or local student for that matter, but you're trying to get into an academic job. So the thing is just quite stiff, but if you are persistent, you can end up getting a job. So in my case, what I started doing is that I took up advice of my professors. So while I was doing the PhD, I started gaining this tutoring experience. So I was accumulating it as I went along. That's one thing I did. The second thing universities really like is your publication record. And I started publishing my PhD papers and collaborating with other people to get my name in the authorship. So second author, third author, fourth author, you can get into that, publish a couple of your own papers. Try to have at least 5 papers, 4 to 5 papers minimum, because that's what they like to see if you have a bit of a research scope and a research acumen as well. So I developed my teaching record, I developed my research track record. Then the other thing they really like is social work and activities. So I was a part of the students' union, student functions, student committees within the university, and I was doing a lot of work over there. And they really like that people are active, proactive, and get understanding the environment, understanding the system. So I did that as well. The fourth thing I did was make really good contacts with university professors. So if they are going out for a coffee, I'd say, can I join you guys? It's very difficult, but I had really good connections with my teachers because I wanted really good referees. Because when you end up getting an interview, and if your referees are called and they put up a good, strong word for you, then that makes a huge difference in getting your first job. All right, so I did that. Then I started applying for jobs. And I had about 6 months left in my visa. And if my visa finished, I was on a student visa, then I pretty much had to go back. So I started applying for jobs, and initially I would not get anything. No, not a call, not an interview. And what the mistake I was making is I was applying for jobs in my focus niche area, jobs were few, and they wanted someone with a lot of expertise. Then I went to, again, one of my mentors, and he said, just apply for broader scope areas like medicine in itself, not worry about sports med, not worry about epidemiological focus jobs. Just apply for pretty much all teaching/research jobs. So I started focusing on teaching jobs because they are a little bit easier to get. So after about 37 job applications, I got about 3 to 4 interviews. And I started getting interviews. That was a good thing, but I wasn't able to get through it. And the thing I figured out that I was giving interviews mainly on Skype or telephone, in which I wasn't able to make any personal connection. They weren't able to see my face sometimes there were personality issues. They wouldn't understand my personality. Maybe sometimes I had issues in understanding them. So then I decided, if in the next interview I get, I'm going to go there personally, no matter how far it is, where it is. It's really important that you go there because you put a face to your name, and that makes a huge deal of difference. So another tip is putting your face to the name and finding out more about that department at university and going in there for the interview once you get that. The other thing I was doing is that whenever I was unsuccessful, I would give them a call and I will seek feedback of what could I have improved or what were the characteristics of the successful candidates. And a lot of the time I actually got really constructive feedback. Surprisingly, they would tell me, look, your research track record wasn't that good, you didn't have experience, we were looking for somebody who has industrial experience, we were looking for somebody who has a niche sort of experience, you don't have grants, all those sort of jazz. So I started accumulating that in my CV over the next 6 months. I started pulling things together, and I sort of understood the psyche of what they want in a good academic. And then finally, behold, the day came and I went for an interview for a teaching focused job. I went to a place which was outside major cities, so a little bit less of a competition. I made a really good impression. I did a lot of practice for the interview. That's also very important. And ultimately ended up getting a job, and the job sponsored me, and I was able to get my permanent residency through that pathway, and ended up having built a very good, successful and a solid academic career in Australia with about 5 years of experience. Now recently I've sort of switched to clinical medicine, and you can watch my videos on that as well. But if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll be more than happy to help you. Please subscribe to my channel and click the like button if you like the videos. Thank you.